You ever wonder what makes an idea just catch fire? Like, why does one video completely explode overnight while another one, maybe just as good, totally fizzles out? Well, it turns out it's not just random luck. There's a real science behind it, and it's called Influence Maximization. And believe me, it holds the key to making things go viral. So today, we're going to unlock that secret.
I mean, just think about the last viral video you saw, right? Or that meme that was suddenly everywhere on your feed. It didn't just poof into existence. Nope. It traveled, hopping from person to person through this massive, tangled web of social connections. But here's the kicker. That path it takes, it's not random at all. It follows very specific patterns. And if you can understand those patterns, well, that's where the real power is.
And that science, that's exactly what we call influence maximization. At its core, it's kind of like a giant puzzle. Imagine this. You've got this amazing idea, but you can only tell a handful of people. Who do you pick? Who are the people that are going to create the biggest possible ripple effect? See? It's all about finding that perfect, tiny starting group to set the whole thing off.
Okay, so how do we actually find those perfect people? The most obvious answer, the one everyone jumps to, actually leads us straight to a huge myth that we've got to bust. And that's the myth of the big influencer.
You know the drill. The first thing most of us think of is, let's find the person with the most followers, right? The big celebrity, the mega influencer with millions of fans. And the logic? It seems rock solid. Just give your message to the person with the loudest microphone and boom, the most people will hear it. It feels intuitive for sure, but as the science is starting to show, it's definitely not always the smartest play.
So we've got to ask a pretty critical question here. Is that one single, massive audience really the best place for an idea to actually take root and spread on its own? Or is there something more complex, something deeper, going on just beneath the surface of those shiny follower counts? And this, right here, leads us to a way more sophisticated strategy. It's not just about reaching a bunch of separate individuals. No, it's about activating entire communities. It boils down to this. It's not just who you know, it's about who they know, and crucially, how well they all know each other. So, what do we even mean by a community here? Well, in this context, the research is pretty specific. It's a group of people who are all really, really connected to each other, but they're not so connected to everyone else. You know, think of a super passionate fan club for a niche hobby, or a really tight-knit team at work, or just your close group of friends from college. Inside these little bubbles, information just spreads like wildfire. And this really shows you the difference perfectly. Over on the left, you've got the old way of thinking. You bet everything on one big central person. But on the right, you see the community approach. It's about strategically picking a few key people inside these super well-connected groups. You're not just shouting a message from a megaphone anymore. You're planting seeds in the most fertile soil you can find, places where ideas are trusted, shared, and can actually grow on their own. Okay, so we've established that targeting communities is way smarter than just chasing one big influencer. That's step one. But does it matter which community you pick? Are all communities created equal? Now that is the real million-dollar question that this research digs into. Right, so we're all on the same page. Communities are the key. They're the engine for making things spread. But that insight really just opens the door to an even bigger, more important question. And that question is, does the quality of those communities actually matter? I mean, if we go the extra mile and use more advanced tools to find the absolute most tightly knit, most cohesive groups out there, does that really give us a measurable boost when we're trying to spread an idea? This is the core question the whole study was designed to answer. So to figure this out, the researchers set up this really cool experiment, basically a head-to-head showdown between two different strategies for finding these communities. All right, so in one corner, you've got HCIM. This is the standard method, using a pretty basic algorithm to find communities. And in the other corner, you have alpha HCIM. Just think of that alpha as the souped-up advanced version. It uses a much more sophisticated method to hunt down only the highest quality, most tight-knit groups. The race was on. And the experiment itself was pretty straightforward. Here's how it worked. First, both methods went to work on real-world networks, like a network of artists on Facebook. Then each one picked its best seed nodes. Those are the initial people who get the message first. After that, they ran a simulation to see how the information would spread out from those seeds. And finally, the simple part, They just counted them up to see who won, which method ended up reaching more people. So, after running all these tests on a bunch of different real-world networks, everything from small university karate clubs to these huge Facebook networks, what was the verdict? What did the data actually show? Well, the results were really interesting. They were clear, but with a surprising little twist. And here it is, the surprising twist. The high-quality method, that alpha HCIM, was the clear winner, but only under a very specific condition. It dominated when something called the propagation probability was low. Now, that's just a fancy way of saying the chance that someone will actually share the idea. So think of it this way. If you're sharing a funny cat video that practically everyone is going to share anyway, your strategy doesn't make a huge difference. But when your idea is a tougher sell, and this is really the absolute core finding of the entire study, the higher the quality of your community, the bigger your advantage, especially when the thing you're trying to spread is difficult. That's the moment when quality isn't just a nice to have, it's everything. So what does this actually mean in the real world? Well, it means that if you're trying to spread, say, a complex scientific idea or a controversial opinion, or you're trying to market a really niche product, basically any message that needs a little bit of trust before people will accept it, the quality of that initial community is absolutely crucial. For those tough sells, a high-quality, tight-knit group is your #1 best bet for getting any kind of traction. And look, this isn't just some abstract, theoretical advantage. On that big Facebook artist dataset, starting with the exact same number of people, the high-quality alpha HCIM method reached an extra 1,888 people. That's a real, tangible number, a real impact, all from just having a smarter way of understanding the network structure. All right, let's bring this all home. What's the real edge here? What's the big takeaway you should be thinking about for your next big idea? This table shows us the final crucial piece of the puzzle, speed. See, there are other methods out there, like Greedy and CELF, that could theoretically reach even more people. But here's the catch. They are painfully slow. So slow, in fact, that when they were tested on that large Facebook data set, they just timed out. They couldn't even finish the calculation. But our champion, alpha HCMAIM, isn't just powerful. It's fast enough to actually be useful in the real world. It hits that perfect sweet spot between power and practicality. So, when you boil it all down, here's what you need to remember. First, stop obsessing over follower counts and start focusing on the actual structure of the network. Second, target communities, not just big-shot individuals. And third, and maybe most importantly, remember that for the ideas that really matter, the difficult ones, the important ones, the quality of the community you choose is your secret weapon. When you think about it, this research really forces us to rethink what influence even means. The most powerful influencer isn't always the person with the loudest voice or the biggest microphone. It's the person who is a trusted, central part of a high-quality, super connected community. And that really leaves us with one final question for you. The next time you have a big idea you want to share, something you really believe in, are you going to go chase the fleeting spotlight of a single celebrity? Or are you going to do the smarter work of finding that perfect, passionate community where your idea can truly take root and thrive?